Good evening. Happy Saturday, everybody. Thank you so much, Jesse and Max. That's very, very sweet of you. Well, today's going to be a lot more laid back than usual, and definitely lots and lots shorter than the last several have been. Because last night, while I was live, several of you mentioned that there is a $5 million lawsuit pending against Ryan. And so, of course, I had to deep dive it, find it, see what it was all about. And the lawsuit itself is not really that big of a deal. Probably the most interesting thing about it is that it started out with there was some does involved in the case, and it was done the proper way that it's supposed to be done. And I just think it's funny because it was filed in October at the same time that Blake was using her Van Zandt lawsuit to get the information from Stephanie from Jen Abel's phone. So I think it's kind of funny. We had two Doe lawsuits happening in October. And this one, I feel like bad things are starting to happen to them for what they've done. That the whole reap what you sow, or some people believe in karma, and some people just say what comes around goes around, that it's finally starting to happen. And I don't think it's going to affect him hugely. He is not the main defendant, but he's had to hire counsel. It's been drug out, and it's an irritating situation, and he may end up having to pay some money. We'll see how it all turns out, but it wasn't as juicy and as exciting as I was hoping that it was going to be. So let's just go ahead and dive in. So first of all, oh, hey, Ricardo, thank you so much. Hello, Miss Cassidy and Lovelies, off to Tucson. Oh, have fun. Have fun, be safe. And yeah, always good to see you, Ricardo. So this is the full caption page. And I just want to say, like, this is the most, I don't want to say unprofessional, but it's so messy. It's such a messy lawsuit. Um, it was weird, like maneuvering in through all the different documents and stuff. You're gonna notice I have a lot of what's that called? Redacting. The reason I did, like, all of my darling lovelies, I know I'm not gonna do anything bad, but two reasons. I know that some unfriendlies sometimes visit us content creators channels looking for trouble and a reason to get us in trouble or things like that. So I wanted to be super duper careful with that. But also, there are innocent people in this lawsuit, and this docket is very, very doxy. I mean, I learned a lot of information today that I didn't know before because I don't go looking for that kind of stuff. But so I've blocked out a lot of names and also like the file number so that people, can't get the information and then go just look it up. I mean, people have probably already found it on their own. Obviously, they have, because you guys had heard about it somewhere. But I didn't want to be a part of anything, even when it comes to Blake and Ryan. Not because I worry about them, because they've doxed how many people? They've doxed single women. They've doxed people with children. They've doxed people that ended up getting kidnapping threats of their family and arson at their home. So it's not them, but they do have 4 small children, and they do have people that work for them. And for those people's sake, I would never want to be a part of them being doxed. So that's why you see all this black stuff everywhere. And also the other people involved in this incident, especially, I mean, the poor woman who works for them, it's bad enough she works for them. I didn't want to make her life worse. So that's what that's all about, even though I know that all my lovely darlings here would never do anything awful with that information. You guys aren't the only ones that come here. So there was a man, I believe, who was injured in this car accident, and that is the person who has brought this lawsuit. But as you see at the top, there are a number of defendants. there is the New York City Transit Authority, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, the MTA New York City Transit, something called Access a Ride, then the driver, and then Blake and Ryan's. Surprise, they have a whole nother LLC that I don't think we'd heard about, but it's listed here. And I blocked it out because when I did look up things about the LLC, they did use it in what is that department called, where like the zoning department or something like that, when they wanted something done to their home. So it's kind of doxy. So I blocked that. I just didn't want to be the reason anybody gets a hold of information that they could do harm with. That's all. And then we have the driver of the other vehicle is the John Doe, but it's so funny because the person's name is listed in the accident report. So it's really weird that to this date, that person is still listed as John Doe. And the owner of that car is also one of the people. And I didn't think any of them deserved to be widely advertised. So this is the gist of it. There was this accident, and the accident isn't a real big accident, but the person already had some sort of health issues, and you'll know why in a little bit, why I know that. And apparently they were not wearing their seatbelt. So even though it wasn't a horrible accident, it does say this person had permanent injuries, but I don't know what they are. Gal, you underestimate the amount of trouble we can cause with just chicken. Yeah, I just don't want to I don't want to play a part in any innocent people getting hurt, and I don't want them coming after me again saying that I exposed something, because like I said, this docket is very doxy, and the information that you can find with this particular LLC is doxy as well. So it's a long list, like I just read, but this is the beginning. This is not the original complaint, but it is one that they amended very, very quickly when they added the LLC. And then at the time, they didn't know the driver of Ryan's car's name. So she's a Jane Doe and a John Doe. And I want to point out that this is at the time that they had their whole Van Zandt Doe lawsuit. So they got to see this is what a Doe lawsuit is supposed to be. It's not like they didn't know. I mean, their attorneys knew. So whether they knew or not is really beside the point. But here's what happened. So there is this thing called access a ride. And that is the mode of transportation. And it is arranged by all of these New York associations or authorities or transits that we see listed. That's why there's so many. And we see that the plaintiff was a passenger in one of those vehicles that is used in this access a ride. And John Doe is the one they say was driving that person's vehicle. Yeah, Gelf, it is. It's kind of like an Uber, but we'll get to, there is a document that's going to explain what it is. So it was being operated by this John Doe, whose name is listed in the accident report, which is so funny that it's still a John Doe. And this was his passenger, and he was injured. And so they have all of the dramatic legal spiel that you see in these lawsuits. They always make me laugh. I know it's the way you do things, but it's like, we can drop all the drama. Can we just like simplify legal papers? Just like bring them to normal language. We don't have to act like we got to use this special language all the time and the most dramatic stuff we could possibly say to describe these things. Okay, so they are seeking damages not recoverable through no fault insurance. And this amount just, I don't know. When you see the cars, you're gonna wonder. I mean, I don't know the extent of this person's injuries, but it's just, wow, $5 million is a lot of money. And I don't know. There's a lot of frivolous lawsuits. I'm not saying this guy's lawsuit is frivolous, but that is a lot of money. And I doubt that if they win, they'll be able to collect that much, but you never know. And so here's where we find out a little bit more. Jane Doe was the operator of a 2023 Tesla motor. See what I mean? It's very doxy. It gives license plate numbers and all kinds of things. She operated this vehicle with the permission of its owner defendant, and this is Blake and Ryan's LLC. And it says that she operated this vehicle with knowledge of its owner and then the LLC again. So not so juicy. It's not like it was Blake driving or Ryan driving. It was one of their employees. I don't know what she does or where she was going, what she was doing, but she was driving this car with their permission and she was involved in this accident. So this is the response. The New York Transit, they responded immediately. They were the most responsive people and filed the most stuff right away. They're like, nope, you're not pinning this on us. But one of the things that they said is that this plaintiff did not use their seatbelts or any restraining devices properly, that they failed to use them. And so they say that if there are any damages that or injuries that they suffered, that they were caused in whole or in part by their own culpable conduct. And so that's their right away, their first defense. Now remember, once a complaint is filed, every defendant has to file an answer, and they have to go through and deny or admit or give more information, something like that. So that was from that document, but they also file a cross complaint. So we've seen a cross complaint. We saw that with Jen Abel, that she filed a third party complaint against Stephanie Jones. So this is a cross complaint, and it is against the co-defendant, and this is the driver of that vehicle that was through that company. And they also include, I missed one of, shoot. They also include the LLC and the driver of Blake and Ryan's vehicle. Okay. And then this is the response from Blake and Ryan. And it's a lot of deny, deny, deny. Of course, it looks very much like their response to Wayfair's lawsuit, where they just deny and deny and deny everything. And then they send this letter. So what I mean by what a mess this all is it absolutely takes forever. So the thing is filed in the fall, and now this is March, or this letter comes April 22nd. And they say, in March, we served your office with discovery demands and a demand for a bill. And we said these need to be produced no later than April 14th, but we haven't heard anything. So this is Ryan's team trying to get ahead of it and say, send us the information. We want to look at it as soon as possible. We want to get this out of the way. Because by this time, they're pretty hot and heavy in the Wayfair lawsuit and probably hoping that none of this comes to light. But they're waiting and waiting. They're not getting responses. In the meantime, there's another supplemental summons. It didn't have any major changes. There's not a lot of information that comes up in any of this. It's really a strange lawsuit. Like, usually when you file a summons and complaint, there's all kinds of information, especially when you get to the amended complaint, all kinds of information about what's actually happened in the case. And this one has so very little. So here's the accident report. And like I said, I redacted it, but the driver's name is right here. And yet they still have him listed as John Doe. It's so funny to me. Like, how did you miss that? It's right here. And that's when we find that this vehicle is in fact registered in Ryan's name. And then at the bottom, we have a little information about the accident. So vehicle 1, they say, was driving southbound on West Street in the left lane. Vehicle 2 was driving the same direction in the middle lane. Now vehicle 2 is Blake and Ryan's employee. Then vehicle 2 changed lanes in front of vehicle 1 and abruptly stopped before the light. Vehicle 1, because of wet roads, couldn't stop on time and they collided with it. So I don't, there nothing in here and nothing in the lawsuit, even though it's been around since the fall of 2024, ever has, there's like no accident recreation. There's no expert testimony about who caused the accident. There is so little information about this case. And it's crazy to me because we have the Wayfarer case that was filed later, and we have an abundance of information about that. And here's this one, just like la-di-da. We'll get to it one of these days. But I think we get the most information of all off of this accident report, that it was Ryan's vehicle, and we see what caused the accident. So I don't know much about accidents or how they determine who is guilty in this sort of thing. Is it her fault for stopping suddenly and changing lanes and stopping? Or is it vehicle 2's fault because they should have been in control of their vehicle? Normally, when you run into someone else, it's your fault because you're supposed to keep a safe distance and you're supposed to be in control of your own vehicle. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. And if it is not determined to be her fault, will they be removed from this lawsuit altogether? I don't know. So many questions. But so this is Ryan's car, I believe, because it's the back. And it's see what I mean? It's not very serious at all. It's kind of just a little scrape to this car. And this is one of the screenshots that's there. This is the insurance information. We can see that that is in fact registered in Ryan's name. There's a little it's a little strange though, because this calls it a 2024 Tesla, but in the court information, it called it a 2023. So I don't know. The whole thing is very, very wonky. Yeah, Carrie, I think that's the rule here as well. That, yeah, because you should keep a safe distance and you have to be in control of your vehicle at all times. So I honestly, I don't think it's her fault. I think she probably, I mean, that causing the accident is not the same thing as being found liable for the accident. So, I mean, it's not a nice thing to last minute cut in front of someone and then suddenly stop, especially on a wet day. But I don't know that that will amount to it being ruled as her fault. We'll just have to see. Yeah, yeah. That's Pam says it too. The car that rear-ends a car is usually at fault. So it's not the driver of the other car though, it's the passenger who was in that car. So they're mainly going after New York, but I don't know if they realized that it was Ryan Reynolds and so that's why they went after them too, or what's going on. But yeah. So this is the front of their car, which I mean, that's a pretty good impact, but it's a pretty small car. So it doesn't look that bad to me. Like to have ended up with $5 million worth of injuries. It's I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about accidents and claiming, claims from accidents, things like that. I don't know. I don't know what kind of money they get. The accidents I've reviewed was all in the Murdoch case, and it was cases where Alex represented people who were actually killed in car accidents, and they got millions. But they they had, one of them was hit by a UPS driver. Sorry, my microphone stand. So it was a big old company and it was their fault. and it killed somebody. It killed a mother of many young children. So that all goes into play. But I look at that and I just don't see $5 million. So unless that car was like 3 feet further forward than than it now is, I don't know. But I guess if you're not wearing a seatbelt, if you're sitting in the front, you might get hurt, but we don't see the windshield cracked. And usually passengers in these kind of things sit in the back. So I don't know. Yeah, I have one. Christina says I want a dash cam in the front and the back. Yeah, we have one in the front and the back because you just need it these days, I feel like. Okay. So this is a list of, oh, let me put these comments up and hide this one. Okay. So this is the list of all of the people now in the party and their attorneys. So then we have, like I said, the New York Transit and the MTA. They're the most involved and filed the most. And let's see. Sorry, I'm just reading you guys' comments real quick. Part of lost wages. Yes. So there's it's a science really. It's not like they just pull a number out of the air. They come up with I mean normally is what they're supposed to do. It's a whole formula of all of the people, like in the case of the one I was talking about in the Murdoch case, all of her children, her minor children they got a settlement. The husband got a settlement. And so and then like lost wages, there's a whole formula how they come up with how much you can sue for in these kinds of things. So what New York Transit is saying is we didn't own this car, we don't operate this car, we don't manage it, maintain it, supervise it, inspect it, repair it, control it, none of that. And this person was the registered and titled owner. And so they're like, not us, go somewhere else, you're not getting anything from us. They're fighting it right away. And so that's when they describe what this Access a Ride program is. So it is, I think it's on the next page. Yeah, it is a paratransit service administered by defendant New York City Transit Authority, which connects eligible customers with disabilities or health conditions to private parties or corporations that are willing to provide public transportation services for lower fees and that provides supplemental funding for such services. So it's specifically for people with disabilities and health conditions. A lot of times they're providing services for them and taking them to doctor's appointments, things like that. So the drivers of those programs, it's ordered, it goes on defendants' involvement. So this is the New York City Transit Authority. Their involvement is simply, let me move these comments back again. They secure private individuals and companies that provide their own vehicles and their own drivers licensed by the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission and which agree to provide services at discounted rates. So their only connection is that they are the contact. They're like the go-between. So you call them, these people who have health conditions or disabilities. So I imagine you have to register for it. You contact through the New York City Transit Authority, and then they connect you to these individuals or to these private companies who are the actual vehicle owners and vehicle drivers. So it's not the same thing as like a New York City taxi or a New York City bus or the subway, anything like that. So they're saying we're not responsible for this. This is not our thing. And then we have more recent, not a whole lot happened. That was like a whole year's worth of filings. I skipped some like sworn affidavits when subpoenas were delivered and stuff because that's not really important. And like I said, there really isn't a lot of information there. Yeah, a disability could be why the passenger wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Yes, it could be that some people are disabled because of their body size, and maybe they can't wear a seatbelt. So that would become an issue if you are specifically there to transport people and you know that that is a possibility. Could you have some sort of something that when you have that situation that you're prepared for it, like airplanes, they have seatbelt extenders. So if someone is going to be on a plane and they know they're of a certain size, they can book or request these seat extenders to make their seatbelt long enough to go around them. So it seems like a situation like this, um, they should have, if you're going to transport people, you should have the things that you need to keep them safe. So now we have, here's Ryan's law team again, just last month, saying, look, we asked you last year in March, 11 months ago, we asked you, and they reminded them again too. So they asked for it, then they sent the letter through the court, filed it, official document. Now they're saying that was a year ago. You've still not given us that stuff. So to me, it's just absolutely crazy that a year has passed and they've not responded to these things. It's like, what kind of lawsuit is this? I mean, a $5 million lawsuit, and you can't even bother to respond to your discovery demands. It's really crazy. But again, nothing super juicy or exciting about this lawsuit. And I have my doubts as to whether or not it's ever really going to affect Blake and Ryan, other than they're having to pay this law firm to represent them. And it's apparently being drug out, but it looks like they're not having to do a whole lot. And so this is, I believe, the last, yeah, this is the last filing to date in this case. And this is a notice to produce. And they are asking, they're like demanding that the driver of the vehicle's name be revealed, because all of this time they are still calling him John Doe. But his name is on the accident report from the very, very beginning. So it's kind of strange, unless they need some kind of official notice other than, well, this is the accident report and he was the one at the scene. This is obviously his name. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, it wasn't so exciting. I got so excited when you guys told me. I was like, everything's coming full circle back to them. But I mean, it may just be a mere annoyance. They've had to pay these bills. They've had to hire a law team. They've had to worry about this in the background of while they're litigating this other lawsuit. But in the end, it's nothing too exciting. I just like everything that's coming back to them. And I thought it was really funny. To me, the most exciting thing about the whole thing is that it was a Doe lawsuit filed at the same time they had Van Zandt filed. So they knew what a Doe lawsuit was supposed to be. But yeah, that's basically it. Nothing super juicy. Nothing. It doesn't look like it's, in my opinion, but I could be wrong, that it's even really going to affect them. It's that it's even going to come back to them, or that they'll end up paying anything out. So the big headline sounds juicy, but in fact, the details are not. But another thing is that Wrexham played Chelsea today. It wasn't a regular league. They're not in the same league. Chelsea is in the Premier League. But this was some kind of game. My husband explained it to me, but I forgot what it's about. But there is a trophy involved, but it's not like what they regularly play in their league. It has no bearing on their standing in the league. But Chelsea, of course, because they're a huge team, they beat them 4-2. So may they keep losing. Blake was apparently there doing the because Chelsea is a huge team, so they probably thought, oh, it's going to be a really big deal. Any Chelsea team players or fans that come or owners that come, I'm sure Ryan was out there wheeling and dealing and trying to do business with the owners of Chelsea, which is a huge, 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 very, very popular team. But they lost. But Blake was there. Yes, we're doing their whole. We're I don't want to say too much about that. I don't want to get super catty, but she was there with the little show, trying to be uh tailored to Ryan's Travis, I guess, even though Ryan doesn't actually play. So nothing too exciting. I am working on another episode. I just interrupted to look into this because I remembered you guys told me about that accident, so I wanted to find out what that was all about. But I found this lovely quote, and the full quote will come in that episode. But this is from a woman that I have so much admiration for. She passed a couple of years ago, but she was a brilliant, brilliant legal mind who became a Supreme Court justice. And she fought so hard, specifically for women's rights, but not just women's rights, but for anyone who was discriminated against. And she was not easily intimidated. She, in addition to her brilliant legal mind, she had an amazing family. Her and her husband had a beautiful relationship. They overcame so many odds. I just watched, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the movie that's about her life. It's called On the Basis of Sex. That's what that's the legal thing. They used to say sex instead of gender. We say gender now, but on the basis of sex means discriminated against because of your gender. And she really, really faced that. She became an attorney back when there weren't very many women attorneys. And her husband was such a good man. He loved her and he loved her intelligence. In his generation, that was almost unheard of. He was very, very supportive. He was not jealous of her success. He was equal. She couldn't cook, and she wasn't a good cook. She tried, but nobody wanted to eat her food. So he learned to cook. And he shared the parenting responsibilities. She was taking care of a case, and the school called and said, "Your daughter's sick." And she told the school, "Well, it's my husband and I both work and we take turns with this, so it's his turn, and call him." So that's what she told the school to do, to go back and forth between the two of them, take turns that way if something was needed from them for their kids. And he was that kind of man. He did. He left work and he went and he took care of the sick kid. And actually, he became a very, very good cook. He followed a French cookbook. It's a really, really old classic one. And he would often share his recipes with the wives in the legal community. And one of them, when he died, she put all the recipes together that he had shared with her and made a cookbook dedicated to him that Ruth just absolutely loved. And she asked for it to be put in the Supreme Court souvenir shop. So you can buy it there. And now I really want to go to the Supreme Court and buy that book. So I was looking at a list of Supreme Court cases this year that I was thinking about going to watch just so I could buy the book, which is so funny. But yeah, so her nickname was the Notorious RBG. She famously loved millennials. She liked the way they thought and their personalities. And one of them gave her that nickname because she was just so fierce. But what really struck me is I was reading an interview that she did just a few years before she died. And it was about her life and the things that she'd accomplished and done. And so naturally that came up. And in the course of that interview, the person asked, "What about the person being accused? What about their due process?" And the quote is longer. And like I said, I'll get to it when I do the actual episode. But this is in part, the person who's accused has a right to defend herself or himself, and we certainly should not lose sight of that. there's been criticism of some college codes of conduct for not giving the accused person a fair opportunity to be heard. And that's one of the basic tenets of our system, as you know. Everyone deserves a fair hearing. And so in that conversation, it was specifically about Me Too, and they were asking like what she thought of how that was changing things up. And she mentions these college codes of conduct because when Me Too started to happen, everybody wanted to be on par with that. They wanted to look like they were doing their best to get rid of this situation. And so colleges started adopting these codes of conduct. And she brings this up in the conversation. And she says she feels that there are issues with it because they went too far, that it didn't give the accused person a fair opportunity to be heard. And I couldn't help but compare that to 47.1 because I feel like 47.1 is one of those situations where the idea behind it is a good idea, but they didn't really consider that they're taking away due process from the accused. In their minds, it was as if anyone who gets accused is automatically guilty and they have no right and they should just have to sit down, shut up, and take it. And that's kind of where those college codes of conduct that she mentions were going. And she did not agree with those. So I couldn't help but wonder if she said that about those, what would she say about a law like 47.1? And not just her, I mean, she was a huge defender of women's rights. So if she saw an issue like this, then I trust her viewpoint of it because she spent her entire career trying to correct this problem in the world. So if she sees problems with it, I bet she would, and I bet she wouldn't be the only one. And I feel like 47.1 at some point is going to end up in the Supreme Court because I feel like it does. When something affects someone's constitutional rights, like due process, which is a big one, it's mentioned in more than one amendment, that's a big deal, and it needs to be taken care of. Also, it's another thing I've been talking about in this particular episode is that when you have a circuit split, meaning the country's divided into circuits, and within the circuit in federal courts, they make big decisions. But what ends up happening is sometimes the circuits interpret laws differently than how it's being interpreted in other circuits. And that's called a circuit split. And that's not looked favorably upon. And so many of the cases that the Supreme Court takes on are cases where there is a circuit split, and they recognize that needs to be addressed. So 47.1 is exactly that. It creates a law that happens in the Ninth Circuit, and it doesn't happen anywhere else. So that's an issue. And so I feel like that is one that will end up there. And there's another case that I'm talking about that has come up in this Wayfair case that I feel like is a circuit split too. So that's just kind of a little intro to my next episode. But anyway, how are you guys? Any other juicy details of something? Or I know things are kind of quiet with the case because there's really nothing going to be filed. There's really nothing new going to happen until Judge Lemon decides those dispositive motions. Chris Wildfire says, I think 47.1 is a good idea. It's just that it doesn't apply to Blake because she has more power and money than Justin. Exactly. That's the main issue with it being in this case. But I think also there is the I feel like it is an unconstitutional statute, that it does stomp on the accusers or the accused. I think it stomps on their due process, their right to due process. If they're innocent, like this situation, to say you can't you can't countersue, you're basically just handcuffed. You just gotta, like I said, sit there and take it. So yeah, I think it needs adjusted. What I think would fix it, and this is just me, I think there needs to be a caveat added to it that before it can go to a civil lawsuit, that it needs to be investigated by either the EEOC or the state authority that takes care of those situations, depending on what state you're in, or a neutral law firm. But I don't think that if these guys are not able to really properly defend themselves, I don't think it should be able to go straight to civil court without an investigation to find out whether or not the accusations are true. I think that would fix it. And then, if someone, a reliable organization like the EEOC or one of the state things, or even a neutral law firm, if they investigate and they find it, then if they find that there really is cause, that there really is harassment, then by all means deploy 47.1. But if you have not, to be able to go just straight to civil court, I don't think is I don't think it's fair. I'll just say that. I don't think it's real justice. I don't think it's fair. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't get to look into I didn't get to look into that one yet. I was working on this one and then the car accident one. Yeah, that's a good point, Pam. There should be income stipulations as well, because that's what it was about. It was about rich, powerful men who have done something unsavory to a woman who doesn't is not in a situation where she can handle, where she can take on a countersuit. And so, yeah, like this case, Blake has more money than Justin. Justin couldn't have gone this far without Steve. He really couldn't. What? After we've all been making fun of her, she bought followers on Instagram. Carrie says, Kirsty Floss said yesterday how Blake had increased followers on Instagram by a huge amount, and when she looked further, they were clearly false profiles, this time without photos. Does this woman not stop? Why can't Instagram get to the bottom of that in all this time? It's obvious to us that they're fake. Why can they not do something about that? Vanna says, what would fix 47.1 is don't live or work in California to be sued. All right. Yeah, they will. Gelt says, Carrie, sadly, buying bots for accounts isn't illegal, so they will keep doing it. So Jessica Lizzie says it was 16,000 lazy bots. It's so ridiculous. I mean, what is that going to do? You're not fooling everybody. It just brings attention to what you're doing, and it makes you look more stupid. It's so funny to me that through all of this, it feels like they've learned nothing. They continue to make the same mistakes, mistake after mistake, and it just makes them look worse every time. I don't understand. And it's not like 16,000 is going to do that much. They've lost millions. Yeah, let me see if I missed. Is the DoorDash girl, are you talking about the one who said that when she delivered food that the guy was not dressed? I've seen a couple of different takes on that, and I haven't been able to deep dive it to see, but Yeah, depending on which way it went. Yeah, I don't know. Um, no, I didn't. Let me I feel like I wrote that down, but I don't remember where I wrote it down. So Leon Black, is that the one that was you said is in the Epstein files and supports I don't recognize the name as being a contributor to the team. There are very few that they've allowed to actually buy in the stock, but yeah, I wrote it down again. If I forget, because I forget a lot of things, if you haven't noticed right now, just keep reminding me, Gail, because it's not me purposefully ignoring you. It's that sometimes things that you tell me will completely leave my head. Yeah, I agree, Gigi. I feel like it's and anyone who loves a man, whether it's their husband, their father, their brother, their friend, their cousin, that's a scary thought. It really is a scary thought. Oh, she did? That's already settled? I didn't is that the one who said she came to the door and that he was naked, but then others were saying that or he said that she entered his home and, like, recorded him or something? That he was just asleep on his sofa and that she I don't know which I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying I read that that was his version and then her version was different, but I didn't know that that was already resolved and settled. Oh, sorry, yawning. That makes more sense if it was 60K, because 16 is like, I mean, they've lost, they were steadily losing like over 100,000 a month. So 16 wasn't gonna change a whole lot. But there was this weird blogger in another community that used to buy them, and they would come on, like they come on over several days. They wouldn't just come on at once, but it would come in big chunks, like for 3 to 4 days. And it was so obvious with that person too that that's what they were doing, which is so funny. Like, what's the point of that? To pretend that people like you? How does that help? How does that help you? Oh, wow. Gil says she was facing up to 9 years in jail and various other charges, including revenge porn for posting his pics. She even demanded that no cameras in court be used. That was the article that I saw that people were saying he didn't have an option about her using her camera, but she was asking for no cameras in her case. But I don't know if yeah, I don't know the details of it. So Chris is saying she went to jail for getting proof of what happened. I don't get it. So the pictures or whatever she took was proof of yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Looks like the chat is divided and I don't want my lovelies to fight. So yeah, it was exclusively owned by them and then um they allowed a family called the Allen family. It's a big wealthy family company. They put in money first and then there was a more recent one that was just a few months ago that put in again, but they've kept it very limited who they let buy in. It will be a problem if they move on to the Premier League because they're going to need so much money to pay for the players. Yeah, I had heard that version too. So, like I said, I don't know what is. she's really gonna lose followers soon. The funny thing about the blogger who would buy them is that as soon as they registered, they would come immediately right back off. Don't trust ChatGPT, people. It's actually they've got a lawsuit. I don't know if you guys know an attorney who sometimes covers this case too. She's absolutely beautiful. Her name is Katie Pope. I just before I went live, I watched her latest video, and she was talking about ChatGPT being sued for practicing law without a license. But yeah, be careful what you trust. It's not reliable, and I don't know. Also it's destroying because the data centers that they have to put up so that people can make these absolutely foolish animal videos. Like, put out real animal videos. Stop making this made up crap that you can tell in 2 seconds in that it's not real. But the data centers that it requires to run AI, they come in and they are destroying villages. They don't put them in big cities because they don't have the space or the facilities, but they need an outrageous amount of water to keep the computers cool, and it ruins the water. It's not like it just like recycles it back into the system, but or burns it up. I don't exactly know where the water goes, but I know that it sucks up way too much water. It sucks up way too much electricity, and it leaves it kind of destroys whatever vicinity that it's in, and it just makes me mad that it's because it's being used for this every time I see a stupid AI, I'm like, was it worth it to destroy some people's homes so that you could make this stupid video that everybody knows is fake? So it's one of my really big pet peeves about the times that we live in. I'm like, ugh. And then the fact that it doesn't give you reliable information. I did a test on it. I showed the results in one of my videos a few months ago that I had looked up some cases. I searched some cases on it just to see. And it told me that Blake had been granted sanctions against Wayfarer, which I knew to be wrong. It told me the date, it told me the docket number, and it told me the amount of money that she got, as if it was absolutely true. Now, if I wasn't sitting here with every single document that's been filed on my own computer like some kind of psychopath, I wouldn't have known that that wasn't true. If I was just somebody out there who's like, "Oh, what's the latest on this case?" and I looked it up, I would have walked away and believed that. But because I knew better, I'm like, "No, this is wrong." And I even, like, went to the docket number. I'm like, I would have read this. I know we would have talked about this if this was actually true, but just to be absolutely certain, I went to the docket that they claimed, and, no, it was wrong. So, I told it how wrong it was, and I don't know if they'll correct it later, but yeah, that's crazy. And then there were instances of attorneys who used it to search things, and it made up cases that didn't exist. That happened to Perez Hilton when he was responding to his subpoena. It says, I think it told him that it hallucinated the cases or something. It's crazy. So why yeah, we can't really trust it. Oh, sorry. My alarm. Yes, she was beautiful, wasn't she? She really was. And her husband, they had their daughter already, and they went to law school together. He was a year further ahead than she was. And in the middle of his second year and her first year, he ended up with testicular cancer. And the percentage rate of him to survive was very, very slim back then. And she stood by that man, and she while he because he had to go through, like, really intense chemotherapy, and that stuff was really, really hard when it was newer. Now they've found ways to I mean, it's still awful, but it used to be even worse. So he was going through all that, she was determined to keep this man alive, and he would be very, very sick, and she would go to his classes and take extensive notes, go to her own classes, and then sit there and type his homework. He would just read it out because he would be, like, laying there so sick, and he would dictate it, and she would type his, and then she would go back to hers and take care of their little baby girl at the same time. And I mean, that's what she did. And they both graduated very high in their classes, and they both had very, very successful careers. And he ended up living until 2010. I forgot how old he was, but I think he was around 70. I can't remember, but it was he died 10 years before her, but he lived a nice long life for having been and it was the cancer did come back, but it was gone all of those years. They ended up having a nice long life together, which is so sweet. And their daughter is an attorney as well, and I believe she teaches at Columbia. And then their son is a Grammy award-winning classical music composer that I think lives in Chicago. So I just adore them. I heard that he was accused, but I don't know any of the details. I've been traveling so much and then trying to keep up with this case, and my brain is very I hate this about me. It gets kind of like a one track. I have a really hard time like some I get so jealous of some of the content creators because they can just flip from this case to that case. I wish so bad I could do that, but when I do something, I'm like so deep into it that I don't wanna just, like, do an episode and not really know what I'm talking about. I have to dive into it, and I get sidetracked on all these little side quests because I wanna know absolutely everything about it, and so I'm just not built to be able to to do all that. Because if I were to step into that case, I would probably end up not coming back to this one. I mean, my brain would just that's what I do. I have my limits, and I have to recognize it. That sorry, that wasn't what I meant to click. That was the old one. Um, really, I wondered. Gal thinks he will be found innocent. Oh, that's nice. I hadn't heard that. Diane says my son is very happy with the new no tax on tips law passed, as he's getting money back this year. Is there a limit to that, or all tips, no matter how high they are? That must be amazing. So Cassidy, the too long didn't read. A stunt woman accused Kevin of being of SA or SH. Are we talking about the big one? Over script changes on a day she was being filmed doing a stunt. So she says he did it, or oh, oh, thank you. You guys are so nice. That's I know my stuff is so long, and I've had people tell me over and over again that I need to do shorter ones, that I'll get more people watching, I'll get more views. But if people like the long ones, that's what I like to do, and that's how it happens. And I like I mean I do this because I like it. I really do. If I don't get any more followers, that's okay. If I don't get a lot of views on a video because it's too long, that's okay. That's not why I'm doing it. I do it because I like it. This is information I'm gonna look up anyway, and somehow I found people who like it too, and so that's what I do. So I'll just be known as the long form person on YouTube. So, um but I really appreciate when you guys come and you say you're supportive of that, because it does get hurtful when people come and, like, always tell you it's too long, it's too long, and so when you guys say stuff like that, it's just really nice, and thank you guys so much for that. Oh, I got so many comments because I'm American and we say soccer, and I know that the rest of the world says football. I'm not stupid. I know that, but I'm from America, and when we say football, it means something else. And so, like I said to one of the people, I'm like, I also don't call cookies biscuits. That's, but it just it's so funny how people will come to YouTube and just to tell you how wrong you are, or something like that. It's crazy. I can't imagine going to a British person's channel and telling them that they're calling something the wrong name, because in my country we say it different. It was just it's just funny. So when you guys give such lovely messages, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Shelley. Oh, okay, SH. All right. They didn't tell her about what they were filming, and there wasn't an intimacy coordinator. See, this is the thing. A lot of stuff is going to happen, I think, because of this case. And they have Blake to thank for that. And I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if you guys saw the episode that had the Friends, or the video I did that had the Friends episode, or the. All right, my brain is so tired. um, what was it? Okay, the episode I did that included the lawsuit that was against some of the writers that wrote for the TV show Friends. And now I forgot why I was saying that. welcome, welcome to Cassidy's brain. um, why was I saying that? Why did I bring it up? Oh, this is why. Because when it went to appeal, Hollywood was all in uproar. They did not want this case to be won because it would seriously affect them. They wrote amicus brief after amicus brief saying, you can't do this to us. This is a creative process. You can't police it. You can't patrol it. We can't create under this situation that this would create if she were to win this lawsuit. So it makes me wonder how they are looking at this lawsuit, and it also makes me wonder why none of them have stepped up and wrote a brief about this case. Like, come on, the judge is deciding something huge right now. Where are all your briefs now? This is the time you need to be sending them to say, hey, judge, you're going to destroy our workplace if you do this. So yeah, that was something really, really interesting. Oh, that makes sense. At the SNL, had those claims already been made? Do you guys remember when Ryan stood up and said that stupid thing, made a joke about the lawsuit? Oh, why? What have you heard? Kevin Costner was sitting right behind them and was giving the stink eye when other people were just kind of embarrassed laughing about it. I wonder. I wonder if he's like, this is all because of you that this is happening. That's a really good point. Oh, Pam says he was being sued then too. And he was disgusted. I was disgusted. But people tend to, like, they don't want to be the one making a scene. So they just kind of along with it. But I wish more people would have responded like he did. That's true, Pam. They know the court won't find in her favor. That's probably true. And I really, really, really hope that that's true. Yeah. I haven't looked at the docket to see if he's in the middle, if Lyman's in the middle of a big case. I know that was one of the reasons that he postponed, was that he did have some big criminal cases to get out of the way, and they come first before civil cases. So But I did want to look and see like what's going on. Is he busy right now, or is he just like buried in these motions? But I'm starting to hope that a decision comes soon. But again, it could go on to the trial. We could still have 2 more months of sitting and wondering. But we do have the pretrial filings coming up soon. Those got he did grant the extension to file those, but they will be interesting. I feel like as much fighting as has happened with everything else with discovery, there's going to be huge fights over the motions in limine when they're trying to, because I really feel like Blake's team is going to try to eliminate a lot of the evidence. They're going to do their best. And so there's going to be huge fights. And we know that anything that the two sides cannot resolve on their own are going to have to come. They will come to the court in filings that we'll get to read, and then possibly hearings where the judge will settle them. So that will be juicy time again. But I forgot what the extension date is now for those. But yeah, those will be interesting filings. So even if we haven't heard, if he hasn't decided these things yet, there will be pretty soon some interesting filings for us to have a look out. Oh, okay. So it happened in 2022 or 20. Wow, and it still hasn't come to court yet. This case really went fast, didn't it? Pala- I don't know how to say that. Palaver girl says I need an atta girl for not forgetting to like. Atta girl. Sorry, I'm a degenerate forgetter. I am too. I am too. And then I have other stuff stuck in my head that I wish I could forget. So yeah, thank you everyone who likes and subscribes. I do appreciate it. It's not what I do it for, but I do appreciate it. Okay. All right. Well, I was going to keep this under an hour. I went just over an hour, but this was just like a more relaxed, just to respond to you guys' question from yesterday, and have a little time to chat, because my last several ones have been so intense and so long that there hasn't really been time to chat with you guys. And so we got a chance to catch up a little bit tonight. So thank you guys. And I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and that it's getting warm where you are, and that things are starting to bloom where you are, and that you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you again, Christina, as always. Thank you, Jesse and Max, for the super sticker. And thank you, Ricardo, for the super chat. And thank you all for your wonderfully sweet comments and for being who you are. See you soon.